sharks are being targeted for slaughtering. A huge business on shark fins especially. There are some hotspots near Philippines, near Indonesia. What I've found out is more than 100 million sharks are being killed every year.
That's huge.
That's huge.
I've seen a lot of people wait for the motivation to strike before they start working out or starting a new business. But you believe in bringing the shark. So I want to know, is motivation a lie or should we just rely on systems instead?
No, motivation is never a lie. In fact, the act of being ready to bring your shark only comes with motivation. Once you realize that time is something which will not stop for you, the ocean will keep taking those waves ahead. That is the time you realize that you've got to do something. We are all racing against time.
You come from an army background. In the army, the person next to you is willing to take a bullet for you. But in the corporate world, the person next to you might be trying to take your job. So how did you handle that change in the culture?
You start with a negative connotation and negative thought process. Somebody is out to take your job. It is never so. It is your skill sets, your experience, your abilities which will have an effect on your growth. Growth is not something which can be copied also. There are no shortcuts to it.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Pages of Pandora. Let me ask you a weird question. When was the last time you voluntarily invited a shark into your living room? Probably never, right? Because we are human beings. We love our comfort zone. We love our Netflix. We love being safe. But there is a famous story about Japanese fishermen. They realize that when fish are comfortable and safe in a tank, they get sluggish. They stop moving. And frankly, they taste terrible. So what did the fishermen do? They put a small shark into the tank. Now suddenly, those fish are not bored anymore. They are awake. They are swimming for their lives. And more importantly, they are fresh. My guest today looked at that story and said, there is a great lesson in this for everyone out there. What if we know our fears and willingly we invite them? He's a man who has spent 21 years in the Indian Army, including daring operations in the jungles of Northeast, deserts of Rajasthan, and snow-clad mountains of Kashmir. Apart from being a counter-terrorism expert, he's a combat skier qualified in high-altitude warfare. When there wasn't enough pressure, he quit the army and then has spent 15 years in the corporate world in various roles, spanning from corporate real estate, service, facilities, and ESG roles for ICICI Group. He's the author of the book, Bring Your Own Shark, and today he's here with us to tell why we all need to stop being lazy and start swimming. Welcome to the podcast, sir.
Thank you so much, Ariba.
It is a pleasure having you here. I know you are a busy man balancing corporate life and book launches. How is the energy level holding up today?
Oh, energy level is absolutely great. In fact, I came over from Mumbai and had a lot of things to do. And I'm here in front of you and I think I'm absolutely ready to, share my own wisdom about this book.
That's great. I was looking at your profile and noticed that from counter-insurgency operations to navigating a corporate life, you have spent a lot of time in the tank with some serious challenges. So I have to ask, what were the specific challenges that you brought into your own life that pushed you from being a soldier to a corporate leader to an author? In your terms, which shark made you who you are today?
Oh, you asked me 2-3 questions. So let me start it this way. Life is a series of challenges for everybody. But it's just a difference of whether you understand these challenges and identify them in time. In my case, maybe I did not get them in time initially because I remember having joined NDA after my schooling and 1 year at college. And that was a kind of a sudden jolt for me from the civilian life to the disciplined army life. And I took some time to, calibrate myself to this routine. However, having done the NDA and, somehow making it through the tough rigors, I realized that there is no way out but to seek these challenges myself. Because if I wait, time is going to go out and people who are more accomplished than me will go ahead. So this is one lesson I learned very early in life. And then when I went to Indian Military Academy, I started slowly bringing on these challenges. Now, how did I bring it down? I never used to do boxing earlier. But I realized that boxing is a sport that gives you a lot of confidence. So I started boxing. Similarly, I started doing my obstacle training or other trainings which were very, very, tough otherwise. And then I focused on academics also because having done my schooling in academics, I went to NDA and because of the NDA's tough regimen, I had, slipped in academics. So I got back into academics. And then once I got commissioned as an officer, I slowly understood what it takes to, become a good leader, and grew myself as the leader in the organization, handling various challenges again, and then switched over to corporate. So I would say life has been a series of challenges again. But what made me, realize this, and which kind of shark that you put in, is basically the mix of two sharks which are in the book. One is the Mako shark, which doesn't wait for time to pass by, but which, the shark is always ready with speed. And second shark, which I utilized in my growth in those early years, was the bull shark. The bull shark is a shark which persists and keeps persisting despite any opposition. These are the two sharks which I used earlier.
So, in other words, you didn't wait for the crisis to hit you. You went ahead, created a pressure yourself to stay sharp. So, you transitioned from the army to the corporate world later in life. Many listeners feel like it's too late for them to start a new career or a passion. So, what do you say to the person who thinks that their prime years are already behind them?
Well, I won't say primary years are always behind you. You always keep growing. You never stop growing in life. That is one thing which I would like to tell everyone. And the moment you think you stop growing, your growth actually stops, because you don't look for challenges. So, having done my 21 years in the army, I realized that what was an ocean for me earlier was now reducing in size. The opportunities were becoming less challenging for me. And I was always thinking about making a switch to the civilian world, because there I saw another big ocean which was there, and I wanted to experience that ocean. But as they say, you cannot experience the ocean without experiencing the sharks. So again, I had to reinvent a lot of things, look for challenges which were different in the corporate, and align myself with my experience and my skill sets behind me.
Right. I've seen a lot of people wait for the motivation to strike before they start working out or starting a new business. But you believe in bringing the shark. So I want to know, is motivation a lie, or should we just rely on systems instead?
No, no, motivation is never a lie. In fact, the act of being ready to bring your shark only comes with motivation. Not everyone is, used to the idea of bringing their own challenge or finding their own challenge. Some people are, by nature, they wait for somebody else to, coax them into some bigger things. Not everybody is in the same situation. Think about somebody who's had a mishap, or who's had an emotional turmoil. They take a lot of time to come out of it. So you require sometimes an external motivation to make you understand the value behind it. I have a lot of colleagues in the workspace whom I see that moment they get motivated, they take a few steps towards solving their challenges, and that's what makes them understand, yes, this is the way to go.
Right. I've also seen this, that a lot of people are motivated and confident, but they lack urgency. So, how do we stay focused to do the task today instead of tomorrow?
Once you realize that time is something which will not stop for you,
Right.
the ocean will keep taking those waves ahead. That is the time you realize that you've got to do something. We are all racing against time, and we all have defined skill sets, and we all have competition. So, in that atmosphere, if we have to do well, we have to really bring it upon ourselves to understand with awareness and with focus as to what are those key things we need to do to go forward. So I think that's what is required. The essence of time and essence of action. These two things are very, very important to make your worth in life.
Well said. You wrote, "Don't wait for the world to shape you. Shape yourself for the world that's coming." That is such a powerful statement. But what do you say to the person who thinks their tank is too small, like they are the victim of their environment?
Well, you know what? No tank is small if you think otherwise. It's only your thoughts that make you feel that the tank is small. Moment you realize what all is involved in the growth, in the journey of growth, you will start feeling the ocean and not that small tank. In fact, I can draw a kind of a parallel, a kind of a comparison by making you understand on one side there's a frog in the well, and outside the well is the ocean with a shark in it. The frog in the well will consider the well as the tank and will always keep complaining until it comes on the ledge of that well and sees the ocean ahead. So everyone has to start seeing the ocean and not get used to the well or the tank, as you call it.
Wow, you have answered very beautifully. You have written a whole book defending the one creature that everyone is terrified of. You stood on a beach in Nicobar Island and you watched them being slaughtered. Is it possible that we are destroying the very thing that keeps the ecosystem alive?
This is a very sensitive question you asked, and in today's world where environmental hazards are there and when we are always trying to create an environmental and ecological balance, this question is very pertinent for us to ask. And let's start with the sharks. As I did my research on the book before writing it, I realized that sharks are the apex predators of the ocean. They are responsible for keeping the environment of the ocean sustainable. They are the ones who keep the balance by ensuring that the sick or the dead fish are not spoiling the environment. They eat the dead fish and they sometimes eat the smaller sharks also who have died. So to that extent, the balance is maintained. And because when they die, a lot of nutrients from their bodies also get dissolved in the environment, in the ocean, which balance the entire ocean. And by keeping the certain species in check, by devouring upon them, they again keep the balance in the ocean. And for that balance, we must understand that there is not a few sharks. There are more than 500 species of sharks. And some of them are small, some of them big, some of them are in different parts of the geography of the world. So this is the entire ecosystem which keeps it balanced. Now, another thing is that sharks are being, targeted for slaughtering. There's a huge business on which targets the shark fins especially. There are some hotspots near Philippines, near Indonesia, near Manila, all those things. So what I've found out is more than 100 million sharks are being killed every year.
That's huge.
That's huge. And because of that, we are really endangering the whole ecosystem of the ocean. And we don't realize ocean is the one which is balancing the earth. Because 70% of our water is in oceans.
Right.
And the ecosystem of the oceans is actually keeping us, balanced in a way. So if we harm the sharks, we are indirectly harming a lot of things in the environment and keeping things unbalanced. Similarly, there are other species also. But yes, since you asked about sharks and the book is about sharks, I must tell about this element about sharks.
I want to know why sharks.
Why sharks? Again, let me put it this way. Sharks have always been known as something to fear from. People have seen movies like Jaws. You remember the poster where the huge monster like a shark. And people have started believing that shark means an enemy or something to be killed or something to be feared or something to be safe from. That is not entirely true. As I've read and I've encountered a lot of people, I've met some shark conservationists, I've realized that sharks are not as dangerous as we make out to be. Do you know, if I tell you, would you believe that chances of somebody dying in an accident are more than being killed by a shark?
Right.
So, just because of some of the stories which come about, we take it that that is the truth and there's the whole truth, which is not so. So, I think bringing a shark to the idea of a metaphor, as a metaphor in my book, it also tells you that sharks have a behavior, they have a pattern. I could make out, 9 sharks out of the whole species, which have absolutely different behavior patterns. And these behavior patterns are responsible for them to be sustainable for so long. They've survived. And if this behavior can be, somewhere copied by the humans, I think we can do well, because on planet, on the earth, we are also the top predators in a way. So we have a lot to learn from the sharks.
Right. So you come from an army background. In the army, the person next to you is willing to take a bullet for you. But in the corporate world, the person next to you might be trying to take your job. So how did you handle that change in the culture?
I would take it differently. There are good corporate companies, there are bad corporate companies. I would I would figure it out. There are very good companies which have a great culture. So the idea is to now talk about culture. If the culture of the company is good, the processes are good, and the intake process is also good, plus the training element is good, you will find the employees getting shaped differently. They learn the value of trust, they learn the value of communication, they learn the value of positive teamwork, and all this help in a different ways. And if the culture is around you supportive in that manner, you slowly start benefiting immediately. You get great results, and that's what keeps you going on and on. It's like a cycle which starts and that never ends. Now compare that with a company where the culture is not good. So the entire thing happens the opposite. You start with a negative kind of connotation and negative thought process that somebody is out to take your job. It is never so. It is your skill sets, your experience, your abilities which will have an effect on your growth. Growth is not something which can be copied also. There are no shortcuts to it. And the moment people realize that faster, the better it is. Now I'll tell you something. You may ask me what to do if you join a company where the culture is not good. Well, then you have the power within you to change things around you. Like Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change what you wish to have.
Right.
So that is the power you have. And while doing that, you have to bring those sharks into your tank. Not only your tank, but as a leader, you have to educate your team.
I've heard the fact that a lot of companies use ESG or sustainability as a PR buzzword. So I want to know, is sustainability actually real or is just a marketing slide?
Sustainability is very much real, at least in the need sense.
I mean, it is in the corporate field.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. Well, the corporate is responsible for a lot of business activity in the nation. A lot of goods and services get deployed, get procured, and get transported because of the corporate involvement. We all buy things, we all do things. So all this comes from the source. Now, the product source is something which is very, very important to analyze as to how that product has sourced. Earlier, we never had this kind of a sense. So due to which things like mining were rampant. So now people have started realizing that mining is an activity which is leading to a lot of carbon emissions. Similarly, your logistics lead to carbon emissions. Your industrial practices lead to not only carbon emissions, they lead to other social impacts like using child labor, etc. And also the employee health and safety aspects. They also involve, a certain degree of checks. So if all these things are not taken care of, if your area of operations is neglected and you don't regard environmental aspects, slowly you will see that these things are hurting the planet.
Right.
So on one hand, we have people in their homes start doing something, but majority of us spend so much time at work that we need to be getting cognizance of these aspects even at work. And there are a whole lot of policies internationally, globally, and in India also. And this needs to be taken on very, very importantly. So ESG is not a joke anymore. It is the matter of survival. By the way, if viewers don't know, If our temperature of the planet crosses 1.5 degree more than what it is, then the rate of degradation of environment will be, non-corrective mode. We will not be able to turn back the clock.
Really?
Yeah.
So, coming back to your book again, you end the book with the dolphin that portrays the empathy. But let's be real, we see great white leaders, ruthless, aggressive, they get promoted all the time. So, I want to know, is a dolphin strategy really effective in cutthroat market, or is it just something we say to feel good?
Dolphin is not a strategy.
Okay.
It is a requirement. You tell me, if after a hard day's work, you go back and your mom is not there to hug you or to cuddle up to you or listen to your problems, how would you feel? Would you feel complete?
No.
No. So, dolphin is the balancing factor for all the sharks that you have in the world. If you don't have a dolphin attitude, what does dolphin stand for? Dolphin stands for trust, connection, and empathy. 3 words. So, what you do not have in the sharks gets balanced with the dolphin, because sharks are always wanting you to act. But dolphin is there saying, okay, if today is not your day, hang on, take a rest. Or is there to show empathy to you or to connect to you and understand your problems. So that behavior is very, very fundamental, especially as you grow up the ladder. When you are a newcomer in the industry, you may not realize it. But as you go higher, this trait to carry empathy, to create trust, and to be able to connect to people is the most fundamental one.
Right. So, you maintain the balance by adding dolphin.
Yes.
Right.
And that was, by the way, a hidden chapter in my book, which you have now opened up to the public.
Actually, I read about this chapter. You are a digital transformation enthusiast. I have seen your social media post and you are positive about AI. But right now, everyone is terrified that AI is a new shark that is going to eat our jobs. So, is this a mako shark situation where we need to swim faster, or a tiger shark situation where we need to pivot completely? What should the average employee do today to not get eaten?
Well, I would say it's neither a mako shark, not a tiger shark. And by the way, viewers need to read the book to understand what is a mako shark and a tiger shark. Well, this is another shark, the zebra shark.
Right.
The zebra shark evolves. Like the zebra shark, we need to evolve in the AI industry. We don't need to do anything which is so stupid as to change our policies overnight and do something else, That will be wrong. And neither we need to be totally frozen and say, now what to do ahead. So AI is something which is invading everybody's lives very, very fast, I know, and very, very differently. It makes you sometimes think what will happen tomorrow. And that insecurity element is there in the air. But let me tell you, companies which are working, they need to embrace AI, but embrace it carefully. Like the first aspect which needs to be solved in the AI problem is the data. Companies who have not yet consolidated or collated the data very well or segregated it well, they need to do that first. They need to foresee what kind of data will help them in future. So getting data into place is the first step. Second is seeing what processes can you make automated through AI rather than keeping them manual and creating more loops or more blocks in the whole process. So these are the few things which I am indicating. Since the time is less, I cannot go at length. But to answer your question in one sentence, there is no need to worry, but need to take things on step by step.
So, we need to embrace AI rather than being scared of.
Yeah.
Okay. We live in an era of instant gratification. People want overnight success. Even I'll be honest, there are days when I get frustrated to working and I just want instant results. My co-founder reminds me that Ariba, great things takes time. You need to be patient. And you dedicated the whole chapter to the whale shark, which is about patience and persistence. So how do we stay patient in a world where everyone seems to be moving fast?
Very, very nice thing you asked me. Well, patience gets you to a place where you can pause. Unless you have patience, you will not be able to pause effectively. Yeah, a small break here and here doesn't mean a pause. A pause means when you have the ability to reflect upon yourself, reflect where you have come and where you need to go, and whether the kind of energy you have is enough for you to go ahead, or do you need to rebuild certain energy, certain skill sets, or you need to just wait for a while and let the troubles which you're facing pass over and then go for the next growth path. So I would say, once you have patience, you are able to reflect properly and you're able to take the right judgment. If you do not pause sometimes, it can, risk you in many ways: your own health, your wrong decision making, or maybe an overkill. So you should avoid that. At the same time, I'm saying, when you take a pause. Don't stop.
Okay. Can you elaborate on how does whale shark portrays the patience and persistence?
Okay, the whale shark is not that kind of a shark which is ferocious or something. It generally swims deeper in the ocean near the bottom, and it takes its own time to go from one place to another, and it treads very cautiously. It eats less, and but when it eats the whole food, kind of whatever fishes and all they eat. But overall, they have the kind of patience which other sharks don't show. Other sharks, they're always maneuvering, always going from one place to another. This shark, you'll find generally waiting, and that wait is sometimes important for us. Sometimes we are going through a medical problem. Sometimes we are going through some other issues. So that is the time the whale shark, it teaches us to pause.
Right, that's true. If you could go back to the 25 years old Navendra in the army and stop him from making one specific mistake, what would it be?
Well, one specific mistake which you ask Navinder of 25 years old is probably act with recklessness. I'm a Mako shark person by design. But if you look at me at 25-year-old, probably I went ahead and did a lot of things out of aggressiveness, about speed, but never waited and experienced, like you said about the whale shark. Never had the patience or the pause needed at that time to be able to take maybe a different decision at that time, or a series of decisions about my own career, how to go ahead, rather than getting lost in the world of the ocean, which was the armed forces, and not understanding the exact steps required to discover my own challenges. I think that phase, when a younger phase is there and you're brash and you're energetic, sometimes you take instant decisions which may not be right for you.
Right, that brings me to my next question. You keep pushing army, corporate, book, now podcast. Is there ever a point where the fish can just relax? At what point we are allowed to be just happy?
Oh, happiness is always a state of mind. Whether you're doing a thing or the second thing or third thing, so long as you do it with passion, so long as you own it, so long as you purposefully drive it, so long as you read a deeper meaning to it, I think you are happy as you go along. You need not categorize or compartmentalize happiness from work. That's a mistake a lot of people do at this age. Nowadays I see a lot of people undergoing burnout, stress. That's because they compartmentalize. They say work means I have to give my 100% there, and then they don't find time for other things. We should always have certain pauses, as I brought earlier. At the same time, we should enjoy our work. And at times, we got to prioritize ourselves. So I would say, whenever you feel you're over the hill and you've done your best and you are just pressurized, take a break. That is you needing you, and maybe you need to find a dolphin within yourself at that time. You know.
Right. The last question is something that I'm very, very curious about, and it's quite practical. How can one survive if they actually encounter a shark in the water?
That's an interesting one. As I brought out earlier, the shark accidents are accidents. Sharks are not trained to kill human beings. But yes, they have a few things, I did my research a bit, and if that's enough, I'll tell you. Uh, they can sense a human being swimming from miles. The vibration in the water, they affect their gills and they affect their skin, and the vibrations, they can feel it. It's also known that, like one of the sharks, the great white shark, can sense a drop of blood from miles.
Okay.
So this is something which attracts them. Now, once it attracts them, sharks normally take a round circle around the target, or I would call it target, around the body or the human being, whoever it is there. So they take a round circle in converging circles towards the center, because they have to understand what is it. And at that time, if the human beings start mimicking fish, they start swimming, thrashing around. Sometimes shark gets confused. They mistake this human body as a bait, or as a fish which is swimming, and they go for it. So ideal is, if you ever get caught, firstly, there are very less chances that you should get caught, but if you ever get caught in such a situation, one should stay still and one should stay upright. If your body is along the ocean trying to swim, again there'll be a mistake, because sharks don't have that kind of understanding about variations between a human body and that thing from at that distance. They just try and lunge forward and try to see what's there, and in that bargain sometimes the accidents happen.
Right.
So it's important to hold yourself and be relaxed and being upright, and in the first opportunity try and board a boat or a ship or whatever you're there.
Right. A very practical answer you gave. We are moving towards the rapid fire round. Are you ready?
Rapid fire. Oh wow.
Yes.
Tell me.
If you were a fish in the tank without a shark, what would be your lazy habit?
I would say I would be overthinking. I love to think and think sometimes, and unless I see an actionable thing ahead of me, I just don't stop thinking. I keep writing notes or something. But yeah, that is something which I would do.
Coffee or tea?
Oh, okay, both. You know why? Mornings and evenings tea. Well, I like to switch comfortably from a sleep state to a woken state and then back to sleep state again. But in the daytime, I would love black coffee and lots of it. That keeps me energized.
Okay. Mountains or beaches?
Bit of both again, because mountains are something which I have encountered during my army days. I love them. And beaches are something which I have encountered after my corporate days, because I've been Mumbai all through. I've been to Goa and I love the beaches.
20 years old comes to you and asks, should I join the army or start a startup? What do you say?
Oh, that's a nice one. So if any youngster comes to me and asks this question, I would say, if you have found your shark, then go for a startup. But if you're still not clear, then join the army. But if you still don't want to join the army, then read my book.
Nice. Complete this sentence. Most people fail because they are waiting for.
Growth to happen to them.
Right. You list 9 sharks. Which one are you on your worst day?
On my worst day, I'm the bull shark. Yeah, because when I'm under pressure with some work and all, I love to challenge my teams, be after them, gunning for them, and make sure that they deliver. And sometimes, it gets on their nerves also, I know.
That's the kind of energy we all need. One habit that kills growth faster than anything else.
One habit that kills growth faster than anything else. Okay, it's not doing anything.
Nice. The biggest myth about corporate leadership.
The biggest myth about corporate leadership is shortcut works. Shortcuts don't work. You cannot copy other success. You cannot replicate success. You cannot take any shortcuts. You have to go the longer way. You have to find your own shark.
If you could be any shark for a day, which one would it be?
Uh, if I could be any shark for a day, that's a tough one. Yeah, there's one shark which I have never been. I would say the great white shark, the strategic shark, somebody who wants to, redefine the whole thing. And that's something which I'm wanting to get into also. I'm looking to start on my own very soon. And if that shark comes to me for a day, maybe it'll give me some wisdom.
Right. You survived the rapid fire round. And is there any advice that you would like to give to audience who are just waiting for the growth to happen to them?
Well, I think you should show them the book, let's show them a book and then
Sure.
we will do. If you want to open this up or whatever.
Yes, we can open this one.
Okay, this is the book, and yeah, so this is the unveiling of the book by Ariba. Ariba, can you do the favor?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, so this is the book, and I would say the message which is there in my book also, and otherwise also I would like to give is sometimes we get disillusioned by some short happenings, by some little failures we have, and we give up. That is something which I would like to tell my viewers not to give up. Because if you give up, the whole chances of finding your next challenge will go away. Because fear is the key. In fact, I read a novel by that name also. If you resolve your fear, you will never give up. And you will keep finding the next shark that you need on the horizon. And sometimes you need more than one shark. And if you are kind enough, you'll always find a dolphin waiting for you.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Navendra, for sharing your insights with us. We started this conversation with Japanese tank story. The story is simple, but the implication is very terrifying. We are waiting. We are waiting for our economy to get better. We are waiting for a promotion. We are waiting to feel ready. But if there is one thing that I'm taking away from your experience is waiting is the most dangerous thing that you can do.
Absolutely. In fact, I'd like to tell you one more thing about the Japanese fish tank story. The Japanese fish tank story tells that, if you let a shark chase the fish, because of fear, they start moving forward. But I have changed that analogy in this book by saying, what if the fear was of your own choosing? You choose your fears, you choose your challenges. Once you choose them, they automatically become your friend, and you don't no longer afraid of anything.
Right. That's a whole different perspective.
Absolutely.
For everyone listening out there, if you are tired of feeling sluggish and is ready to put a shark into your tank, then you can get your hands on this copy right now. It is available on Amazon. And here's the best part, if you are on Kindle Unlimited, you can read it for free. So you have absolutely no excuse to wait. And you can also connect with the author on Instagram and LinkedIn to stay connected with this creative journey.
Yeah, one more thing. So there's a website by the same name called bringyourownShark.com. And in that website, you have a free quiz.
Okay.
Yeah, anybody can take that quiz, and that will help you find out which is the shark you need today in your tank.
Right. So please check out the website as well. And thank you.
Thank you, Reba.
Thank you. I will do a little fan moment here. I would love to get my copy signed by you.
Thanks. It's an honor indeed. Thank you so much, Reba.
Also write a note for me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. I'm Navinder, author of this book, Bring Your Own Shark. And from what other readers had to say, it's really working for them. I'm sure it will work for you. It's a unique proposition for you to read, wherein you learn how to find your own challenges in life and how to embrace them. And that is the true path for growth. So if you're stuck somewhere in life or work, this is the book for you to read. It's an amazing book, just about 100 plus pages, and I think one can read it on a flight, and you can find it on Amazon, and you have a website, bringyourownShark.com. There's various kind of news and inputs out there, and a lot of reviews being given by good people. And you'll also find a free quiz which you can answer to find which is the shark you need in your life today. Thank you.